And we are only 7 days out from the 60th presidential inauguration. These images to your screen there are from the inauguration rehearsal yesterday. President-elect Donald Trump is set to make his return to the White House alongside Vice President-elect J.D. Vance. And as you can see, the preparations for that are already underway, including the security measures being put into place. There are a lot of them. The D.C. mayor and federal officials gave an update on that earlier today. Let's take a listen.
Many in this group were together just 10 days ago to discuss the operational security plans for the 2025 counting and certification of electoral votes and the state funeral of former President Carter. These events showcase the teamwork and partnership of public safety personnel in the National Capital Region. A week from today, this collaboration will again be on display at the 60th inaugural ceremonies. The upcoming inauguration, which will take place on Monday, January 20th at the Capitol, is the third leg of our Triple Crown. The Department of Homeland Security has pre-designated presidential inaugurations as national special security events. Both the election certification and funeral ceremonies were given this same NSSE designation. This designation allows the federal government, along with our state and local partners, to use all available resources to implement a comprehensive security plan. The Secret Service authors this security plan and coordinates assets with many of the public safety partners in this room and beyond. The majority of NSSEs are held in and around Washington, D.C., meaning everyone here knows what needs to happen. Regular training, constant communication, and the frequency of these events puts us in a position to succeed. The Joint Congressional Committee and inaugural ceremonies organize the upcoming inauguration, which thousands of special guests will attend. These include President Biden, Vice President Harris, several former presidents, Supreme Court justices, and lawmakers from the House and Senate. Hundreds of thousands of attendees will also be on hand to watch the peaceful transfer of power on the Capitol grounds. The public is also invited.
All right, let's go live now to the nation's capital, and CBS News congressional correspondent Scott MacFarlane joining us now. Scott, we're just 1 week out. What else did you learn from that briefing there?
They're expecting about 250,000 ticket holders, but any number of others are going to try to be part of the scene on the National Mall outside the inauguration. But also, law enforcement officials were pretty emphatic here that they expect about a dozen protest events surrounding the inauguration, literally and metaphorically. There'll be protests the day before the inauguration. Some gathered downtown in Washington, not far from the site, during the inauguration, and they have a police enhancement to deal with that. But also, all the fencing that was erected around the U.S. Capitol complex ahead of the January 6th electoral certification to better protect the area has remained up. It'll be a component of the security plan when the inauguration proceedings begin. This is a distinctive Homeland Security event. They call it a National Special Security event, which, Liz, means it has the highest designation in the federal law enforcement world for security.
And I can imagine, given the recent events, it's going to be even higher than previous inaugurations. Scott, while we have you here, though, I want to ask you, it's a very busy week on the Hill today. Let's run through what's happening. First up, confirmation hearings kicking off tomorrow. To name a few, Pete Hegseth tomorrow, Pam Bondi on Wednesday. Who are you going to be watching for?
Look at all those images and all those names. They're going to do all those confirmation hearings in the course of 72 hours, which is quite something. Watch out for Wednesday in particular. You have Pam Bondi, the would-be U.S. Attorney General in charge of law enforcement in America, at the same time as Kristi Noem. They're in the top left. The governor of South Dakota would oversee national homeland security, presumably including plans for mass deportations. But it's the volume of people, Liz. So many at once gives Democrats limited bandwidth and oxygen to try to fight fights against all of them. They really are flooding the zone to get on a war footing, to get the president-elect ready to hit the ground running, but also it really makes things difficult for the opposition.
And also this, Scott, we're waiting to see if the special counsel Jack Smith's final report on Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election actually get released. What's the latest on that?
Some of that is tied up in a federal court in Florida by a judge appointed by Donald Trump, who's asked for some deadlines to be extended for a review of whether releasing that report impacts the still ongoing classified records case against Trump's former co-defendants. This could come out in the wash by tomorrow. It could be released publicly by the U.S. Attorney General tomorrow. but the clock is ticking towards January 20th for it to be released, if it's released at all.
All right. CBS News congressional correspondent Scott MacFarlane, thank you so much for joining us.